So we're back for part 2, Mark.
Yeah.
And, we'll
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
It's almost like me and you have just gone and had a brew.
Literally, that's what we did.
No, it's literally what we did.
So yeah, like I was saying before our little
Intermission.
refreshments.
We've had an intermission.
Intermission, yeah. You know, I think we're at that stage now where these superhero films, we're past the peak, I think.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of what we were leading to when we were talking about all the franchises and this IP management way of looking at cinema, which all the big studios are doing. And yeah, superhero films are the apex of that, certainly at the moment. They're dominating. But yeah, I think we are possibly at the point where we're going down now.
Well, the thing is, as well, you know what happens
slope.
is because let's be honest with it, right? So Marvel literally built up to the Avengers, but once you reach the Avengers, where do you go from there? Do you know what I mean? In terms of obviously the two part of the Infinity War and the fucking other one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Avengers and then Avengers
Endgame.
Age of Ultron and then Avengers.
Yeah. Infinity War,
and then Endgame.
You know, and I think that the films that come after that, then it's like these Shang-Chi's and Doctor Strange 2.
It's ended, hasn't it?
That's what I mean, yeah.
The game had ended, literally. You were Endgame.
Yeah, completed it.
Like, finished it.
Yeah.
Like, you'd get the credits if you were playing a game.
Yeah.
Like, well, you get the credits at the end of any
And there's no point replaying it again.
No. But I think you're possibly right, because you've mentioned it many times. We're at the point of diminishing returns.
We are now, I think so. And this whole DC thing, I'm telling you now, if the first 2 or 3 films do what the DC EU films did, they'll fuck it off straight away.
They will fuck
it
it off
straight away. No matter what you're telling us, the next 5 years are going to be this.
Well, the first one of those has been this new Flash one, which I haven't seen. I'm not going to pretend I have seen it. I'm not going to pretend I've seen it. But, like...
Not a good film,
no.
but it's probably one of the better DCEU films. And again,
that's a low bar, though, isn't it?
This is what I mean.
It's a low bar.
This is what I mean. And
like, well done. Massive fucking...
I didn't hate it, but I didn't rate it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Well done for clearing the smallest hurdle like you possibly can, Warner Brothers. Well done.
Yeah.
Like, you set yourself a very achievable task, and they may have achieved it, but
we've even mentioned, the films post Endgame. Like the Shang-Chi, like the Eternals is just a really bad film.
Right. The Eternals...
2.5 hours.
Has no reason to exist. I hate that film. I hate that film.
It's really bad.
Right. For one, as far as I understand, and once again, I'm not an expert in comic book law.
I'm alright.
I know you have more than a passing interest.
Yeah.
Whereas I have a passing interest in it.
Literally run past it.
No, I won't run past it. I'll stop and have a look but I'm not that arsed. It's just too dense. I don't... Ooh.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
But as far as I understand it, it was a very... not controversial, but very hysteric comic anyway, that not a lot of people took to.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a certain style. It's
and so that just makes me think
as well.
That just makes me think, why are you bothering? Like, who was baying at Disney's door for? Oh, make the Eternals because
No one. Same with
no
Shang-Chi. Same with Doctor Strange 2.
No. Although, first Doctor Strange, I don't think were a terrible film.
Yeah, but the second one's just a mess.
It's a mess. It's a messy film.
It's a mess.
I think
the new
it's a shame.
Ant-Man's not great. Again, I'm yet to see a superhero film where I've gone, oh, quite like that was cool.
This post-Endgame world.
This post-Endgame.
Because I've flat out lost interest, Chris, and I know so many people who will have lost interest now. Not only just in Marvels.
This is what I'm saying.
But all of them.
But that and the
DC's and whatever Sony are doing with the tiny little toys that Disney still allows them to carry on playing with.
The Spider-Man universe.
who's going to see that Hunter thing? Who's going to go see that? Not me. The only reason I'll go and see it is because I wouldn't mind shagging the main character. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry for being vulgar. I know our family members listening to this, but smash him. But who's going? Except for making a deposit into the wank bank.
Yeah.
Who's going to see that?
The trailer is bad.
Dog shit.
I told you.
Dog shit. I was looking at it, gobsmacked, smacked gob. Like who's going to watch that? Who went to go see Morbius? Honestly, write in if you went to go see Morbius, and if you enjoyed it, what's wrong with it?
But again, it's not. It's like with the whole Venom thing, mate. They're bad.
They're really bad films.
And number 2 is even worse than the first one.
I know, but the first one, I thought it were a spoof for a while. I would genuinely like. Are you taking the piss?
Taking piss.
And I thought they were taking the piss for a while.
Are.
And I was like, it can't be. This can't be the film.
You're like, okay,
I'm like,
you'll start in a minute.
I thought it would just like a little, and it just went on and on. And I was like, oh no, this is film that they've made. They've made this.
It purposely went out of the way to do that.
Made this film.
But this leads me on to. So what is the if we are reached the point of diminishing returns in terms of the superhero genre, which it's probably 70% of films, 75% of films that get released into the cinema are all superhero films or superhero related or
tangentially connected. Yes, at least certainly.
Very much so.
Well, I don't even think it's superhero films. I think this whole world of franchise like Star Wars in the dirt.
Oh yeah.
Star Wars in the absolute dirt.
Pounded it away.
And it's got to such a point where me, big Star Wars fan, can't be arsed. Can't be arsed. Did you watch Obi-Wan?
No.
The Obi-Wan series. Well, exactly.
You said you're done with Star Wars a while ago.
Yeah.
You said you're done with it.
Even us who are fans swerved something about Obi-Wan Kenobi because we were just a bit like I'm just exhausted by the effort it takes to go and watch it and the effort it takes to make sure you've got right, where does this take place in the timeline? Like Star Wars is a bit more simpler than Marvel, like you can figure it out, but like, where does it take place? And you're like, oh, I didn't know that happened. It's just exhausting.
It's
constantly.
The same shit now.
And like,
there's no effort being made in to make anything.
The only thing Star Wars wise, which I still haven't watched, but I've still been constantly intrigued by, was the Andor.
I've watched the first maybe 4 or 5 episodes. Good, quite low key, quite.
I've heard it's a bit of a breath of fresh air, which I hope that'll take Star Wars in a new direction. But even that, dying a death, going now, we need a break. And to be fair, Bob Iger even said that he has actually literally said we've hammered people.
Yeah.
But everything, why can't please make something new? I'm begging for something new. I'm literally crying out.
Where does it go? What's the next thing? Because if we go back to, let's look at the genres that were popular, say, right, let's start from the 70s, right? And you'll see like a big shift in terms of decades moving up to the more, obviously we know where we are right now. In the 70s they were like blaxploitation films, anti-war films, martial arts films was fucking... Mate, the amount of martial arts films that came out in the 70s... counterculture films as well. Against the establishment films.
Yeah.
The top 5. This is going to sound like really ironic, but Superman the movie, Exorcist, Grease, Jaws, and Star Wars. So we've got a superhero film, a horror, a musical, a family, a kids film, number 1.
What is
Star Wars?
Star Wars, yeah, it's a kids film. It's a sci-fi adventure film. It's Star Wars. That's what it is. So
it's kind of ironic that Star Wars. I mean, Superman.
Yeah, I know, but like first Superman, well, in the first Superman is it? But like the Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, the first one, the first film. Yeah, I mean there was a TV serial before, right,
Yeah,
by George
but,
Reeves. He played Superman in the black and white thing.
But the Christopher Reeves one.
Yeah, the first Richard Donner.
Like, yeah, it's a good film.
You know, and looking at that, in terms of directors as well, you know, a super exciting time.
Look at the diversity though.
I know.
The genres that we're talking. Yeah, there's a superhero film in there. And
something for everyone in that top 5 though.
But yeah, there is literally something for everyone. And the only film that I don't like is because it frightens the life out of me is The Exorcist.
Great film.
It's
one of the best horrors. It plays it straight. Plays it really straight.
I recognise that it's not for me. I'm not going to watch it.
No.
Do you know what I mean? We could get like
shit myself.
Yeah,
Mark doesn't do horrors.
I don't do horror films.
Don't do horrors.
I got it in me, but I can recognise a good film when I know about it.
Yeah. But like
there is something for everyone. And is there something for everyone?
No.
Nowadays, no.
I mean, even going back to the directors, these names everyone's heard of: Francis Ford Coppola, Godfathers, Stanley Kubrick, Scorsese. Ridley Scott, Spielberg, William Friedkin, who did Exorcist and French Connection, Polanski, Lucas, Richard Donner, Woody Allen, John Carpenter. You've had each person there.
Would you say that's the age of the auteur, really?
I think it's the most creative Hollywood's ever been. Yeah, in terms of diversity with stories that are being told, with diversity in terms of style of direction. Like you're saying, there was a lot of people there that come out of the film school of the 60s, the UCLA kind of thing.
Yeah, in that way, like Lucas and Spielberg.
Coppola came from there, and I think you've got directors like Polanski, David Cronenberg, and John Waters, Bad Lad, that were making almost dangerous films. The age of the dangerous film hasn't existed for decades. It's a bit dangerous, this film, because it's touchy or it's too
a bit naughty.
Yeah,
a bit naughty.
Very much so.
Once again, what's naughty nowadays? No, it's naughty.
There's nothing.
No, safe,
There's
easy
nothing
film.
that challenges the audience, and if it does, it never gets released at cinema.
It challenges them in the most basic way, like.
Did you watch the last one? Are you going to watch the next one?
But even if it does hit on a message, it'd be something like, isn't racism bad? And it's like, yeah, we all agreed on that a long while ago. What else? And it's like, oh, no else. That's the message. And you're like, well, yeah, all right, we've got that, but what else?
What else?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying let's have more films that say racism is good. Actually, no, I'm not saying that.
Not the point.
What I'm saying is we've already, I think, as a culture generally decided, and as media rightly so. Yeah. So what else are we going to tackle now? And we're just not. We're just tackling the basic surface level.
Well, it's not even. There's no, in terms of that, for want of better words, confrontation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In how you can portray a particular story from a particular director in a particular genre.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is interesting though. There is so many. I mean, you read out a short list there. I'm sure you could have gone on.
Probably
don't. But
no. But it just goes to show that it was a very fruitful time in terms of diversity in storytelling. And and again, look at the top 5 there, guys: Superman, Exorcist, Grease, Jaws, Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh, don't remember those films as well. Literally, those they're the top, the tippy top, so everyone's always going to remember them. But not one of those films is not remembered fondly. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Even if it's not your thing, you can immediately go. I know a musical is not your thing, but you're never gonna you're not going to watch Grease, but if someone came up to you and said, I think Grease is a shit musical, even you would be like, how could it possibly be a shit musical?
Yeah,
it isn't a shit musical.
Yeah, we're just dealing facts on the show.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's interesting because there are, except The Exorcist, I love all those films.
Agreed.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, Jaws is in my top.
I know.
Jaws
You
is in my
absolutely.
top
I wouldn't necessarily put it in my top 5, but it got a
you
great
should.
film.
So, that's a bit of a snapshot of how cinema looked in the 70s. So, moving on to the 80s now, where it's it's a complete swerve.
A swerve.
Complete swerve.
Yeah.
So now we're in the era of the teenage movie, the teen comedy.
Yeah.
We're in the slasher horror films.
Okay.
So what the sci-fi films, action films? Again, we're going.
So there's got to be Star Wars in there again.
There's actually 2 in the top 5.
There is 2.
So the top 5 grossing films of the 80s. Raiders of the Lost Ark, number 5.
Stunning film.
Facts.
Not the best Indiana Jones though.
No.
Stay tuned and we'll tell you which one is.
Not in this episode.
Not in this episode.
Stay tuned to the show.
Stay tuned to the show.
And you might find out what we think is the best Indiana Jones film. Number 4 is Batman. So another superhero film.
Look,
Weird.
it's always been there.
Weird.
It's always been there as a popular genre.
Next 2, number 3 and 2 are Empire Strikes Back and Jedi.
Yeah.
Number 1, E.T.
Oh, it's found it now.
So we've narrowed
It's a great
the
film,
choice.
but I've never particularly taken to E.T. by the way. Do you know,
it's one I've
it's
never
a good film.
fell in love with.
I've never fell in love with. I can see a great piece of art and appreciate it, but I've never taken it into heart, if you know what I mean.
But I think that's really interesting in terms of we're narrowing the scope now with variety already.
Yeah.
Not alarmingly.
Not alarmingly.
We're just telling
no.
different types of stories, but now what's popular.
Yeah.
I think we're getting, like I say, it's all these teen movies.
Can you see the seeds though of like what would to come in that?
The only thing that was coming from that, mate, is IPs, properties. What can we mine from?
Yeah.
Series, Star Wars. Look, blah blah blah.
No. From that list, I can really see the seeds of what cinema would become. It's just that there was so much more variety of other stuff as well.
Because it was.
It wasn't the only thing that you were getting.
Again, going to the 80s directors, again, people with interesting visions, like John Hughes, Breakfast Club, and obviously you had Spielberg, Zemeckis with Back to the Futures, Roger Rabbit, Rob Reiner, Princess Bride, Stand By Me, Spinal Tap.
I love Princess Bride.
You couldn't have 3 completely different films again from the same director. A straight up comedy mockumentary, a straight up pastiche on the fantasy genre, and then Stand By Me, which is regarded as a well known coming of age drama. James Cameron, Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, in the sci-fi space, but interesting stories. John Landis, Trading Places, Werewolf in London, Tim Burton, Batman, Beetlejuice, Harold Ramis, National
Fucking love Beetlejuice. Oh. What a great film.
We might be doing a show on that, guys.
Maybe. Stay tuned.
We are going to actually.
Yeah, we're just going
to. Directors like Oliver Stone that were making, Wall Street, Platoon, hard-hitting character pieces. Again, not dangerous, but ooh.
Yeah.
Doing his own thing. Ivan Reitman, Ghostbusters, Twins, people like, again, Brian De Palma, Scarface, Body Double, Blowout, The Untouchables.
Once again, from that list, we can see of the top grossing films that, like, the seeds of now is there. Can definitely see that. But in terms of, like, the directors and what films they're making, once again, there's still a huge variety.
Exactly,
there.
And these directors were making a diverse, their filmography.
Yeah, I think the way you're putting it, that I would say that to be a good director, it were almost, you were expected to make different sorts of films. You were meant to try your hand.
Your craft.
Do you know what I mean?
The craft
of it. Yeah, the craft of filmmaking, I suppose.
But interesting that top 5, like you see.
It is very franchising. Literally only E.T.'s not.
Yeah, and they didn't even know that was the case back then.
No.
So, again, making another hard swerve, we move on to the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
The 90s scene was made up of crime films, romance films, sci-fi. This is the period where animation really become a big box office draw.
Huge.
You know, you went from hand-drawn at the beginning of the decade to CGI.
The beginnings of CG.
You know, horror, drama, and then fantasy. More people were, you know, we had fantasy in the 80s, but it was a bit like a very, people only was into fantasy.
It's a bit sword and sorcery, and you know what I mean.
A bit Dungeons and Dragons, like them geeky boys.
Yeah.
But then this, you know, you had films like Willow.
There you love a bit of Willow, not the TV show.
No.
Top
5 of the 90s. Lion King, the animated.
Had to be there. We've got a show on it, guys. I don't know whether you've noticed, but also best animated film ever made. The Lion King.
I'd agree.
The best, like...
I can't remember what I give it on the show, well, to be honest.
I think you gave it a 9, to be honest.
I
certainly give it... It deserves it.
Yeah.
Lion King, the original animated Lion King, the best animated film ever made. Disney saw that ball and knocked it out of the park.
The days before Iger.
In the days that were Michael Eisner, his mentor.
Eisner,
Michael Eisner, his mentor.
Yeah, he was...
Bob Iger is literally his apprentice. Like, you know what I mean? To run with the Emperor from Star Wars.
Next on the list, Independence Day.
Great film. Ludicrous, but great film.
Brilliant. Will Smith.
Do you know what I mean? We will not go quietly into the night. Oh, what a speech! Go on! Go on! It's so good.
Next one, Jurassic Park.
Stunning. Yeah, enough said.
Move on.
Enough said.
Episode 1, Phantom Menace. We did a show on that, guys. Go back and listen to it and we'll give you our thoughts on that film.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a Star Wars. There's always a Star Wars.
And obviously, the big one of the 90s. What's the biggest one of the 90s?
Mrs. Doubtfire. No. No, what is the biggest one? Titanic. Right. I know it's not your thing, but if anyone ever came to me and said Titanic is a bad film, I'm like, you're wrong. It's not a bad film at all.
If I'm honest with you, I don't think I have a huge recollection of. I've seen it a few times, but I don't. It's one of them films that I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
A lot of people don't. Too many people talk about some bullshit about, like, oh, it could have fit on a door, and you're just there like, oh, way to absolutely miss the fucking point totally, dickheads. Right? It's not a film I return to all the time, because it's sappy and it's smolchy in a way. Although tragic as well.
Yeah,
it's a melodrama.
Yeah, it is
I don't return to it, but anyone... If you're one of those people who said that is a poorly written, poorly shot, poorly edited, but just a poor film, I'm just like, you're just being countercultural fanboy bollocks, because it's a brilliantly put together film. Even if it's not your thing, I think you've got to give it props for that.
Yeah, I do, and you know, I think it was a very different type of film that what people used to from James Cameron.
The practical effects in that,
they built the ship half.
They literally built half the ship. Yeah. It's not there.
A technical achievement as well.
It
won
genuine
a shit ton
technical.
of Oscars.
It swept the board practically.
Swept it up.
Although that fucking Celine Dion song were like fucking tinnitus in like 1998. Were it 1998, 97?
97 it was.
97, tinnitus. It was. My Heart Will Go On. It were everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And you were older than me. I were only 8 years old, and even I were thinking, Jesus, Celine!
Mate, I went to cinema to see Titanic.
Did you?
I did, actually.
How old were you then? 41?
43.
I thought you would be.
43, yeah. So it was a good age to really enjoy it.
It's an ideal age.
Yeah, I almost remember when it happened.
I remember the hype about Titanic.
Oh yeah.
At the time, even as a little boy, I remember like,
wow, this is for one, it's a story everybody knows.
Yeah.
And for two, it's a tragedy.
Mm. It's not there, is it?
No,
Chris?
no. But I'm not saying what I'm saying, but I'm saying it.
Yeah, but once again, we can see the continuing of the seeds, like franchisey, how once again, except Titanic, putting her to one side, love her, leave her alone.
Even Lion King was a franchise.
Part of the Disney Renaissance, like whole that canon of where Disney were just whacking out hit after hit after hit.
Very late 90s, very late 80s, early 90s.
This is essentially what made Disney one of the big studios, because it wasn't before that. It wasn't.
Yeah, true.
People do forget that it wasn't before that. Disney on its arse in the 80s. We've got a whole.
I know.
We've got a whole thing when we did Basil.
Yeah, Basil on Master Tattoo.
Flat on its arse.
Yeah.
Nearly shutting itself
down.
And
actually, that film, it does have a hand in what come after massively.
Oh, Basil.
So
yeah. Again,
we're not just recording a show here, guys, to reference our other shows, but
no, I know, but it's not there.
It's not there.
Discussed
so
it before.
Not there. But 90s directors, mate. Again, you can kind of see how Hollywood had moved on from the establishment in terms of people like Chris Columbus, films like he did Home Alone. Directors like Spike Lee. Again, is he a?
I like the first Home Alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun.
Well, yeah, we'll have that. Frank Darabont, Shawshank Redemption. In the
what? Regardless of what you think about it, wow, what a film! Shawshank.
I didn't love it.
It's an achievement. Is Shawshank?
I think it was. It was a different type of film at the time.
I get you. I don't think it's going to be everyone's cup of tea. But once again, I think it's a film that people should be like. I respect it.
Yeah. And Frank Darabont, but again, the big enfant terrible, Tarantino.
The enfant terrible.
Reservoir. He was just on a roll. Like that. He was on a roll because he is a fan of film. He loves film in general. You can see that.
He's the film buff's director.
He is, very much so. And again, just another famous director, David Fincher, Alien 3, 7, Fight Club, a very stylistic.
I feel like we've discussed him before.
We possibly might have, but see how these directors aren't necessarily making each film doesn't necessarily sway too far in terms of style.
Yeah.
But just genre. It's a different type of director.
Well, you mentioned before when we were doing our 7 episode that you can tell a David Fincher.
I think so.
Film. Even if they're in different genres, you can tell.
And I think you can see early David Fincher to the last 15 years David Fincher. His films before that point, again, stylistically and production, they have a very similar look. Like
similar
the grimy,
vibes.
Yeah, the grimy, yellowy, dark brown.
Dead yellow. Yellow.
Fight Club's the same fucking thing.
Yellow.
Alien 3, the same thing, dark. And then the more modern stuff he's done, like Zodiac and like I say, this Manhunter, very clear, vivid, not necessarily that colourful, but loads more colour than what he used to do. But again, evolving. Like I say, Tarantino, you see the stylistic change in terms of Reservoir Dogs to Pulp Fiction to Jackie Brown, and he did his gangster film. He did his anthology film. He did his fucking blaxploitation film. With Kill Bill, the 1 and 2, he did his homage to his Hong Kong cinema and all the martial arts films of the 70s.
Yeah. 20-year rule, isn't it? Like, you're always going back 20 years. That's why last decade we got loads of stuff based in the 80s.
Film,
not a superhero film.
Grossing 90s films, mate.
Because there was shit in the 90s, weren't there?
Very, very
Do you know what I mean?
Pretty much.
Like, what was the fair? Batman and Robin? I don't think. I don't think.
But you know what we did get, though, in 1992?
What?
Batman Returns.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah,
the point I'm making as well here, I've got a little mention here. So I think what happened was we're more of in the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. There was a lot of space for directors to have a vision.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And the problem is, when you let people have a vision, you have a lot of films that don't reach the widest audience.
That's it. That's precisely what it is. And are these films remembered as great because they reach the widest audience? I don't think so. I think they're great because they're good stories, well told.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Even if there, this is what I think modern cinema needs to relearn. People will be deeply, deeply impressed with brilliant effects. But what keeps them coming back for bums in seats is not brilliant effects. It's an affecting story, well told.
It's something that...
Like, I can live with ropey effects. I can genuinely live with ropey effects if it's a good story, well told.
I agree.
And that's what I think...
And that's what's been lost.
I think that's what's been lost, because nearly all of those directors and even those top grossing films, they're good stories, well told. They're not... Yeah, some of those have absolutely smashing effects. We were on about Titanic moments ago. Yeah. Smashing effects, brilliant, brilliant effects. But that's not why people keep coming back. They come back because they love the melodramatic love story of Rose and Jack and like the ship sinks and oh my God. Do you know what I mean? They keep coming back for that. Why do people keep coming back for Jurassic Park? Yeah, like we said in part 1, the effects hold up, but the story is interesting.
I mean, the effects in the new Jurassic Worlds are very, very good, but the shit films.
But you've got to meet it both at both times. Like, think back to our very, very first podcast, Ghostbusters, right? Ghostbusters is a great film because it has a great story. And the effects, I think, generally hold up. But bit ropey now to look at it. But I'd still...
But it doesn't detract from the story.
I would still take Ghostbusters 100 times, every single time. Do I want to watch Ghostbusters from then, or do I want to watch a Jurassic World Ghostbusters? I'll take Ghostbusters every single time.
Yeah.
Bit ropey in terms of effects, but it's a good story, and it's well written, and it's got good actors who are there for it as well. That's one thing that I've noticed about modern cinema compared to cinema of the 70s, 80s and 90s. What I have genuinely noticed is that the casting of actors was better in the sense that the actors in these great films, they're there for it. Whereas I think a lot of actors now are there for the paycheck.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, the thing
you see someone in a big budget Marvel film, and you can just see it. I'm phoning it in.
100%.
I'm there for that. Eternals. Angelina Jolie. She's her and Selma Hayek. They were just
5
like
lines each.
Give us the paycheck. Give me how many millions, and there I am for it. And you can tell.
Yeah.
You're phoning it in, and you can tell you're phoning it in.
They're not there because the part is interesting, something they've not seen before.
I've never seen a group of people more obviously disinterested
Every single character in that film.
Disinterested, don't want to be there. All of the DC things. Gal Gadot, disinterested. She's not interested. She don't want to be there.
Not surprised.
She don't want to be. Henry Cavill don't want to be there. He's not terribly interested. He's all right.
He lost interest after Man of Steel.
He did lose interest. Ben Affleck don't want to be there.
Yeah, because
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just noticing this pattern. I'm not like even the new Batman. I'm not even sure how interested Robert Pattinson was. He's all right. He's all right in it.
He's all right in it. Yeah, we said that.
But I'm not sure how interested he is. I'm not deeply intrigued by his performance.
But again, though, I think that is all about we're in again.
Whereas you think back to Batman,
Keaton.
Yeah, Michael Keaton. He wanted to be there.
Yeah.
You can tell it's not just that he's playing a part. It's that he wants to play the part, and you can tell. Do I think that about Robert Pattinson? No, I think he's mostly there for a paycheck.
Yeah. And again, he'll know
and
that'll expose him to...
Yeah, and you can tell. I think you can tell.
like you say, there's a lot of that going on because it's something you can do. Probably it only takes you 2-3 weeks to film, especially like the Eternal. But they probably did a fucking day, 2 days, and we'll just give you back the truck up.
Yeah,
we've said it before. Back the truck up.
Dump that. I've emptied my swimming pool. Dump it full of. I want to dive into a pile of money like Scrooge McDuck. Do you know what I mean?
DuckTales.
Woo. But yeah, I just think that's a dead interesting change as well.
And it's a product of modern cinema as well, because people will go because of a name, not because like when you might go and it dragged you in. Might not be the greatest of film, but you've seen your favourite actor for the last 6 hours. 6 hours, however long it goes on for.
Right. So go on then. So what sort of things are we looking at? Early 2000s.
Well, I've kind of gone in the direction of I thought of some like 2000s directors that are.
I mean, obviously, there's always going to be a lot of crossover.
So the problem is, and again, going back to the point I was trying to make with the directors, is it seems to me that there was a lot more. If you went to the average person on the street, and you said to him, name me a famous director, I bet you it's none of the modern ones. You might get Peter Jackson, Chris Nolan for the younger generation, or
I mean, Peter Jackson. I mean, you've got to give PJ.
I know. But
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve, Prisoners, Dune. He's quite an interesting director. Makes Dune's a shit film, but I appreciate the art of it.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
And Prisoners is a really, really good film, mate. Yeah, that's really good. Chris Nolan's a bit of a darling. Everything he does, I know, roll of the eyes. I know, mate. I know. But then you've got directors like Wes Anderson, who's doing very quirky. He's He's Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh yeah,
and didn't he do the Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is really good.
Really good, really good.
On the Isle of Dogs, he did that. Yeah. So he's his films are very different, and very quirky. But the space these directors have to work in is very, very small now.
Yeah.
Whereas the directors driven, how many stories do you read about films in the 70s where the director was like, it's got to be this, it's got to do it, I've got to have this. Because they knew at the end of it, they went, there's my product. And they went, oh, well, actually, you were right, weren't you?
Yeah.
Whereas now the studio dictate, the studio go, this is how it will be. This is the film you are going to make. Mm-hmm. All these modern films, mate, they have writers on set and they're being rewritten virtually every day, and they start shooting with a release date, they don't release it when it's finished. It's a release
It's got to be finished by this date
because they need the arse on seats, they need the tentpole things, they need the, like you say. We get the only thing that come out is literally comedies, superhero films.
No, but what comedies? Where? What?
Few and far between.
What comedy films do we get? You get the odd big.
That's why I've not done a list of.
You get the odd big budget horror film.
Maybe even them Screams now, it's like fucking hell.
I know, but like Scream's never really been a horror film, has it? Really, but
no.
But I was thinking like that new Evil Dead
shit.
Thing. I'm sure it is. I'm not interested.
It is shit.
But like you get the odd one of that.
But again, it's an IP, it's a name, it's a thing, and they don't give a fuck.
Where's this little adventure films? Where are they?
Don't exist.
No, nowhere.
Where are these films, mate? Like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and The Goonies.
Yeah, we've got a Mrs. Doubtfire and all of that.
Don't exist.
Don't exist. And
these
nowhere.
middle films, guys.
Where's you?
They don't exist.
Even just like a Men in Black. Nowhere.
Don't exist.
Nowhere. Well, I know.
Well, I know they continued that, but
they had another go, but let's not bother.
They did a few shite.
And like they tried to bring Ghostbusters back, with the girls.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is the worst film that I've ever seen. It's not. People,
It has funny bits in.
Genuinely, people who say that that's a genuine, like, really, really shit film. They're
not.
just those horrible women-hating people who go live in the man's basement and
all it is a version of Ghostbusters.
It's just that I think the story was a little bit poor. If the story were a bit better, I'd have been like, oh, all right, I've got time for this. Go on, girls. Because the actresses I really quite liked in it. The good, funny actresses. Like,
some of them were in Bridesmaids, which is a
film that we've got soft spot for.
Yeah, I do. I genuinely do. But again, it's an IP.
It is an IP, yeah. But that's
it's just a name. It's a brand.
Yeah, and
it's sad. It's sad because where does it?
Well, I think we're at a tipping point now. Shall I show me working?
Go on.
Right. As you know, the studio system back in the 60s nearly essentially broke apart for the reason that they were making such big budget things that nearly killed studios.
Paramount was a good
infamous
example
one
of that.
Being Cleopatra.
Yes.
The 20th century
crippled
Fox.
it.
It nearly killed Fox. Nearly killed it dead.
It was the most expensive film ever made, wasn't it?
Ever made. Now, I've got time and a half for Cleopatra.
I've not seen it, but I do want to.
Yeah, time and a half for Cleopatra. I'm not saying it's a bad film, it just cost way too much money.
All practical?
Yeah, everything. All practical effects, and you can see it every bit. Penny is on screen.
Yeah.
Has to have an intermission as well.
100%.
Right. But I think we're getting to that point where these films are costing so much money. They are too big to fail.
Yeah, agree.
And we're getting to the point where it's going to start killing studios. I said in the last part, Warner Brothers, it's going to kill Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is on death's door.
Our next step is the death of a studio, one of the big ones.
Yeah,
literally.
Personally, I think it'll be Warner Brothers.
I think you're right.
I'm not putting money on it, but personally, if I was to put money on something, I'd be like, be Warner Brothers.
And it will be self-inflicted because you're not paying the writers and the actors enough.
Exactly. And they're not going to want to work with you. Because here's the thing.
Because you don't want to tell interesting, different stories.
These things are getting so big that they cannot fail. They can't fail.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers at the moment, if one of their films fails, they're in trouble. They're in genuine trouble. Not immediate trouble, not like get the fucking debt collectors in.
But they've
trouble,
got to start.
But they've got
switch
to
the lights off when they go to bed.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, make sure that light's off. Do you know what I mean? Who's paying them bills?
I think you're right. I think that has to.
And I think there's a big link with the mid to late 60s there, of it's going to start. Like we talked about just before the show started, that classic age, those 7 or 8 studios.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it killed out RKO. Gone. Universal Artists.
United Artists.
United Artists.
Gone.
Sorry, gone. It
MGM in the 80s
because
they just kept
bigger and bigger films, and it got so big that they couldn't get enough bums in seats. They couldn't pay enough for people to be in it. And that's the thing. I think now we're at a tipping point. That
especially
studios are going to start to go. And with this strike, because studios now are going to have to start treating their writers better. They're going to have to start treating their actors better. I mean, yeah, it's all very well to laugh at people like fucking Cillian Murphy and like big name actors.
Yeah, but they're doing that because they're getting eyes on it. They're getting eyeballs on it.
I get it, but we're not really on about them. It's sort of like the middling rank of
the people that we never even heard of, that never get the recognition.
Why do you
just
think
like us going to work, that's their bread and butter. That's how they earn a living.
Why do you think that they're not gonna be able to get into your massive big budget thing?
Because you're going for the star.
You're going for the star, and that's the thing. You get into a point where it's too big to fail, and the writers have noticed it. going, you're treating us like absolute dog shit. You're forcing us to write things that we don't want to write and we can't write. Right? And they've said enough's enough. And the actors have basically said, you're saying that this has got 300 million and you can't pay me for my residuals for being in things. I don't think so. And they have justifiably withdrawn their labour from them. Right? And this all links into the general state of cinema, and I honestly think that we're getting to the point where we're going to have big studio collapse.
I think it's inevitable, isn't it?
I think obviously not Disney. Disney's going to carry on. They've got more money than God. They'll be all right for a while. They can afford to make the losses, but not a single one of those other studios can afford to make these kind of losses on
like you say,
huge, big
2 or 3 failures.
And I think temples is the right word because one knock and the whole edifice, the whole tent comes tumbling down.
Yeah.
And because there's nothing else. And I said to you a couple of weeks ago, except for the superhero genre, which needs putting in its own category, it's almost like we just have one big tent pole for every genre, and then that's it, you get one. If you like an adventure film, well, I hope you really like Indiana Jones, because that's the only one you're going to get. If you like a horror film, well, I hope you like Evil Dead, because that's the only one you're going to get. If you like a comedy film, tough, there aren't any. Do you know what I mean?
It's, you know.
Or if you like a nice little family picture, again, get on Netflix because it doesn't exist. You certainly won't get one from one of the big studios. And that's it. We're looking at big studio collapse because you've got films that are far too big to fail.
You know, there's not enough spreading of the risk, is there?
No.
And they've done it for too long, for that long now, that you fucked it for yourself.
And it's basically like not single one of those studios can
again,
take
I think
the
that's
now.
why, you know, I think they see, I think this is where this whole, I'm not going into it too much, but where this whole streaming space has become it's become a savage land of,
it's dog eat dog. You know what I mean? I can't think of a time in cinema
where they're all scrambling to get
absolutely
eyeballs.
Scramble. Do you know what I mean? Anything.
Because they know that people aren't going to pay 20 quid, because in England it's about £20 to go to watch a film.
Yeah, no, it's a dear do here in England.
That isn't the cheapest
I know
thing to do.
you guys in America, like it's not cheap over there.
Yeah. And you know, eventually they're thinking, well, they might go, instead of going twice a month, they're going to go once a month, but spend half that on a subscription each month.
Yeah.
So again, it's another way of force feeding the shit to you.
But also, I feel like as well, because of the predominance of streaming and the absolute ubiquity of streaming, I think films are being made now with streaming in mind.
Well,
and
again, look at the directors that are going to Netflix.
I think to its detriment, for one, people have gotten a bit too used to something being so long and loads of subplots and loads of character arcs, where just the one and done film has essentially died. When we watched the Batman, and we did the special on it.
Yeah.
We've done many specials, guys.
Listen to him.
That it's almost like it was made for a streaming service. There's a lull in the middle where I'm like, that's where they intend you to stop it and come and watch the rest of it tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's where they intend
watch it in parts.
Watch it in parts, and I'm like, no, it's a film. It's a different medium. It's a different medium altogether. I think there's room for mini-series, but you need to structure it like one.
And I think, you know, it's not that people go on, you know, with the streaming and stuff, and I think it's a really poor excuse to say, you know, with the advent of streaming and the growth of that, a lot of haters online and whatnot are saying the death of cinema, but it's not. The problem is when you love something that much and it becomes these big businesses that are not interested in making films. It's all about profit, And you get to a point which we have now where as we've discussed, there isn't a space for directors to have a certain vision or want to tell a different interesting story. It's about people being turned away because there isn't that space and those films aren't being made. So it's not, you're strangling it to death. You've hammered it and hammered it and hammered it and hammered it, and eventually people will turn away because it's the same old shit. At what point again, I do think we're at that point.
How many times realistically do I need to see the same generic hero's journey story? Like, I love a hero's journey story, and when it's done right, it's right, it's there. But how many times do we need to see it? It's safe, it's uninspiring, and it's not to say that good films aren't coming out now. That would be a ludicrous statement, because we're being very negative. There are good films coming out. I 100% recognise that. But there just seems to be this huge melange of nothingness, of just
the same old thing.
Of just it's almost like you're being fed, and I've used this before. You're just being fed a chocolate biscuit.
Yeah.
You know precisely what it is, how it tastes, how it feels, and you like how it tastes and you like how it feels, but it's all you're eating.
Yeah.
It's all you're eating. That's all it is. It's chocolate biscuit.
That's a very. And you've said it before to me, you said it before.
I have said it.
It's a really good way of summing up to say.
You know how it tastes, you love how it tastes, and you enjoy it, and you want to eat more of them. But it's giving you nothing except just that little bit. Oh, I like a chocolate biscuit.
Yeah, it's scratching that one particular tiny itch.
And there it is. But occasionally, I want a bag of crisps. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the variety. You've not got that choice most of the time. You have a biscuit or you don't.
Yeah, it's have your chocolate biscuit. It's time for your chocolate biscuit.
You do like it though, don't you?
Yeah, but I really want like a bag of crisps. Like now, some different, some crunchy, some
texture,
to it,
some flavour and texture.
Do you know what I mean?
And
I know. We've gone hard into that analogy, but I feel like you're with us. Like you understand what we mean.
Yeah, and hopefully, we've give you some few things to think about there. To have a step back and go.
Hang on, there is something rotten in the state of Denmark. Do you know what I mean here? The Shakespeare that.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. But I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
I think
we'll leave it there.
Got stuff out what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And hopefully, guys, you've enjoyed it, and it's something a little bit different for you.
Yeah.
And it's a two-parter.
It's a two-parter. You can listen to one on way to work and one on way back from work, can't you?
That's why Matt wanted to do two parts.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but hey, wherever you listen to it, however you listen to it.
We're always happy to have you.
We are.
And like, this one, guys, perfect one to engage with if you'd want to engage.
Yeah, get in touch with the Instagram at Vault of Cult. vaultofcult@gmail.com is the email. We,
as movie fans, I'm not saying like, we need to unite or anything like that, but we need to be thinking critically about the media we consume and the people who are making that media, because I feel they are now starting to systematically let us down.
And how our choices affect what comes next.
And if you think this next franchise film is going to be shit, I tell you what you need to do then. Don't go watch it.
Don't go watch it.
Don't go watch it. Don't go watch it just because you've seen the last one.
Yeah.
And that's... We've fed the studios the exact wrong lesson.
Because once you've bought that ticket, they've got your money. And your ass is in your seat for 2.5 hours, and then when you come out there going, wasn't that great, that wasn't it?
Wasn't that great? But they've got your money, like, so what's bothered?
Can't go, shit film, mate, have a refund, just look at that.
So I think that's what we as film fans need to start doing now. Like, genuinely, don't just go watch it for the sake of going to watch it. Just
have it.
Just wait. Just wait until it's more readily available.
Like we say, it's not all modern. There's a lot of really good films out there being made. There is interesting things being made, but The problem is that
you
gets overshadowed
in
by...
You're going into indie market, and
Yeah.
you're going into, like... And the interesting
And the
thing
casual
is,
film goer wouldn't...
No.
don't go into that space
No.
because it isn't advertised, it's not on Netflix.
And nor should you. We're not blaming you for
Not
that.
at all,
but
not at all.
Nor should you, but we're not blaming you for not doing that.
But we just wanted to highlight the problem with the big Hollywood system and how they've...
Because we're
it's
back
become
to
a cash grab.
we're back to future now.
Yeah.
We're back to that point of the precipice where it's going to start falling off now.
Yeah.
So if we love
And sometimes
cinema,
a reset isn't that bad.
and if we love cinema, we've got to do something about it.
Exactly. And that's why we did this podcast.
Very good.
So guys, thanks for joining us. Like I say, reach out to us, social media, get us on the email, you know the address. Reach out to us on the Q&A section on Spotify now. So guys, we hope you enjoyed, and it's goodbye from me.
And me. In a bit, Skip.